Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the guy who's always dribbling, and this video we're breaking down Space Jam: A New Legacy. The movie feels like Ready Player Poo, and it's absolutely filled to the brim with Easter eggs, product placement, and callbacks to the greater Warner Brothers library. In this video we're going to be going over the best of the best and getting nothing but net, as we'll be pointing out every single one of them that we could find. Was a bit soul destroying, but full spoilers ahead, so if you haven't had a chance to check out the movie yet, then I highly recommend that you check out now. If you think the video is a slam dunk, then please smash the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe if you're a baller like me. Or so my gran says. Now with that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Space Jam: A Product Placement. Okay, so the opening of both Space Jam and A New Legacy mirror each other quite a lot. Both have big father and son moments in which a paternal figure influences their son's actions throughout the movie. LeBron's son Dom ends up designing a game that becomes pivotal to the plot, and over the film, the father learns to appreciate his son's interests. The credits sequence also uses career highlights of LeBron playing, which is somewhat similar to the opening montage that was shown at the beginning of Space Jam for Michael Jordan. Again, it's like poetry, they rhyme. Now young LeBron can be seen playing a Looney Tunes game on the Game Boy, which is something that I actually owned because I'm old as shit. Now cut to the Warner Brothers server room and we're introduced to Algorithm, aka Algorithm. Great Easter egg. This video has been so bad so far. It gets better though, I promise. Now he refers to LeBron as King, and according to the website babynamespedia.com, the name is of African origin and it pulls from LeBron, which also means king. The nickname King James is something that the player has carried with him since high school, and it's a nice meshing of the two. Later on, Algie calls Dom a prince, which is clearly a nod to his father's nickname, and it all ties together into this legacy idea. Interestingly, Warner Bros. Actually tried to create an AI that would predict whether a film would be successful or not, and I kind of feel that Algorithm is sort of playing on that too. In Sarah Silverman's office, which I'm just calling her that because I have no idea what her character name is, we can see several names when she opens her emails. These are actually the producers and crew for the film, including Clark Stanton and Martin G, whose subject line reads film script. What script, eh? Was it just a list of films? Now behind her in the office are posters for two of Warner Brothers' multi-billion-dollar movies, which include Aquaman and Joker. Speaking of posters, when we cut to Dom's room, we can also see one for The Mighty Zango. This was illustrated by a Brazilian artist named Hugo Canudo, who reworked several comic book covers to include figures from the Candomblé religion. You can find a lot of these online and they look absolutely amazing. We can catch several more movie posters including Scoob, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, The Matrix, Tom and Jerry, Birds of Prey, Aquaman, and The Suicide Squad. During Algorithm's presentation, we can also catch several more properties from the studio, including the original Space Jam, The Mask, Batman 1989, Dunkirk, Joker, The Matrix, Batman Begins, The Flash, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Inception, and Harry Potter. In this room there are also several statues including Dot from the Animaniacs and Marvin the Martian. There's also the Lion from the Wizard of Oz, Batman, and Gizmo from Gremlins. Algie has mocked up LeBron in several properties including Batman, and we see the sports star show up as Mr. Freeze. This is riffing on the animated series version of the character, and it's an ice inclusion that makes me wonder what it would be like if we got a cool update to that show. Next we catch a Game of Thrones scene that's better than Season 8, as well as a Harry Potter Quidditch game. Quidditch was of course the main sport in that universe, and LeBron can be seen with the snitch, showing that he's won the game for his team, much like how King James has many times. After Dom is sucked into the serververse, LeBron says, "What in the Matrix hell?" which is not only a nod to the Matrix, but it's also one of the worst lines ever put to film. Moving on, Algorithm appears as a giant head, and he towers over Dom and LeBron whilst referring to himself as the Great and Powerful. This is actually a nod to the Wizard of Oz, in which the Wiz too appeared as a giant head, and he called himself the exact same thing. The Emerald Cityverse can also be spotted throughout the movie, and you may notice the giant green castle at several points. Before he's sent into the serververse, we get a display with several of the worlds on it, including Hogwarts, Neptune, Orbit City from the Jetsons, Gotham, Bedrock from the Flintstones, Westeros from Game of Thrones, and Hundera from the Thundercats, as well as Themyscira from Wonder Woman. LeBron is sent across the serververse, and he flies past Westeros World, like Westworld, hey, having that, Casablanca, and a model of Hogwarts which has fireworks going off. This is known as the Nighttime Light Show, and it's appeared throughout several of the Harry Potter movies. There's also the model for the Jetsons amongst there, and what I think might be Krypton from the original Superman movies. There's also Bedrock, which is flying around in the background. From here he whizzes past the Emerald City before journeying into a black and white Kansas, the both of which are of course from The Wizard of Oz. Next is the Matrix, and we can make out the Nebuchadnezzar on the left hand side, as well as red and blue pills. Finally he lands in the Looney Tunes verse, but before getting there, orange rings fly up to greet him, and these pull from the That's All Folks ending that the show is famous for. James creates a Nike logo in the ground, and also says that he's shorter than Kevin Hart, who, yeah, why you gotta dunk on him like that, eh? Having that? Now throughout the world we also see several Acme products, and these are of course from the fictional corporation Acme that pretty much sells all of the things in the Looney Tunes world. We later learn that they've been supplying TNT to Bugs, which is a double entendre as he says they still get it there, and TNT is the name of a Warner's Media channel. Amongst this landscape is the village of Speedy Gonzales, as well as a theatre sign for the Singing Frog, who featured in several Looney Tunes cartoons. There's also a barn for Foghorn Leghorn, and a theatre which has several posters of Bugs Bunny specials. LeBron comes across some posters hanging up, which alternate between duck season and rabbit season. They're ripped down sequentially, which is a nod to the Looney Tunes episode Rabbit Fire, in which both Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were trying to avoid being hunted. LeBron hugs Bugs, obviously calling back to simpler times, when he just used to play video games. Bugs dresses him up as Elmer Fudd, and he changes his own appearance slightly to look a lot like the Big Chungus meme. He then gives James a haircut, and this moment has several Easter eggs in it. Now firstly is the fact that this is a nod to The Shop, which featured LeBron James and was set in a barbershop. Next is the fact that there have been several episodes of the Looney Tunes in which Bugs disguised himself as a barber. In here we see several pictures of other characters including Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam. The former has shaving cream and fruit on his head, and this is a reference to a famous moment from the cartoons in which Bugs dropped them there. They head to Sam's saloon, named after Yosemite Sam, and we can catch even more characters in a photo behind the bar, including Foghorn Leghorn. This location might be a nod to the Bugs Bunny Rides Again short, which featured a saloon and it had an appearance by Yosemite Sam. Bugs says that everyone has left, and outside the saloon we can see that he's turned a cactus into Wile E. Coyote and a watermelon and apple into the Roadrunner. Marvin the Martian shows up, he flicks through the settings on his gun, and we can see that one has Charles Ray on it, which could be a reference to the soul singer Ray Charles. Cut to the Algae bar and we see the villain dressed up as Steve Jobs, whilst the location itself is similar to the Apple shop. These are nicknamed the Genius Bar, which the G could stand for, and again we've got some top-notch writing in this film. Now cut to LeBron and Bugs travelling through space, and we see a planet for the Maltese Falcon which starred Humphrey Bogart. This 1941 noir film is still considered one of the best of all time, much like how Space Jam: A New Legacy will be regarded for several years to come. I'm sorry for taking the mick of it. I actually thought this movie was alright, if I'm being honest. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, but it's a kid's movie, and I'm gonna lay off it from now on. Now the ship itself is clearly pulling from Star Trek iconography, including a captain's log delivered by James T. Bunny, which is of course playing on James T. Kirk from the shows and films. On the front of the ship we can see the alphanumeric code A113, which you may know for its appearance in several Pixar movies over the years. It actually calls back to a specific classroom number that many of the artists from Pixar studied at. On a whiteboard, James writes down several character names including Superman, King Kong, Trinity from The Matrix, and also Batman. LeBron says he could have used Superman, and this may be a nod to Shaquille O'Neal, who not only had the nickname, but is also someone that LeBron played with. LeBron is placed into Hufflepuff, which is of course from Harry Potter, and it's the worst house, but at least he seems happy. They then travel to DC World, and we can see several nods to the comics and shows here. Now the planet is split into two, with Gotham being on one side, whilst Metropolis is on the other. The former is shrouded in darkness to show its more shadowy side, whereas the latter looks bright and colourful. In the sky we can see the bat signal, as well as blimps flying around Gotham, and these of course appeared at several points in the animated series. Interestingly, you can also catch the Watchtower satellite floating above the planet, and this was the base of operations for the Justice League. There's also the Daily Planet. I think that this scene is probably my favourite in the entire movie. The entirety of Metropolis is styled to look exactly like how it did in the 90s animated Superman show, and we even catch a glimpse of Clark Kent at one point before he appears as Superman. Amongst the people waiting at the train station are Commissioner Jim Gordon, Selena Kyle, Dick Grayson, and Jimmy Olsen. Bugs Bunny becomes Batman, LeBron becomes Robin, and Daffy Duck becomes Superman. I think the latter especially is a nod to when the character has appeared as him throughout several cartoons, and at one point when I was growing up, there was even a Happy Meal toy of this. The Batmobile interior looks similar to the 1966 version, and this scene is filled to the brim with Easter eggs. We can also see several stops including Atlantis and an orphanage. The former is of course the home of Aquaman, and the latter is rumoured to be appearing as a set piece in the upcoming Matt Reeves Batman movie. They fly through the Batman animated series universe, and we can see the iconic red sky as well as more of the police blimps. There's also Atlantis and the Fortress of Solitude. Here you can catch a big giant key and a lock, and this was actually so heavy that only Superman was capable of lifting it, so only he could enter the location. On board the train we can catch Porky Pig wearing similar clothes to Jimmy Olsen, and amongst the passengers are what appears to be Alfred from the animated series, as well as Lois Lane and what I think might be Dr. Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn. These are all from the animated show universe, and we're joined by several of the other characters from these shows including Aquaman, Batgirl, Green Lantern and Flash. From here we go to Mad Max to get the Roadrunner, and yeah, this is a pretty cool scene as well. We see Wile E. Coyote hold up a sign that says "Witness Me," which is something that the followers of Immortum Joe did in the film before ending their lives in a blaze of glory. As Coyote can't talk, he just holds up a sign in a nice little bit. See, I'm being overly nice now. Now next we jump to the Austin Powers verse to see that Mini-Me is now Elmer Fudd, and learn that Sylvester has been shaven to be Mr. Bigglesworth. Cut to Casablanca to see that Yosemite Sam has replaced the character of Sam from that film. From here, Taz is dumped on the windshield, and we see that this is carried out by Rick and Morty, the latter of which complains that he'll never erase what he's seen from his brain. Same as I feel about this movie I suppose, but from here we go to Westeros World to see Foghorn Leghorn with bleached blonde hair riding the back of a dragon similar to Daenerys from that show. Next we get a scene with Speedy Gonzales and Granny from the Looney Tunes, which is shot to be very similar to how the opening of The Matrix plays out. Bugs is dressed exactly the same as Morpheus, whilst LeBron takes on the role of Neo, even down to the gun holsters and jacket that he wore in the lobby scene. Throughout the film, Granny ends up doing a lot of Neo's moves, and at one point LeBron even refers to her as the One, which was his nickname in that movie. Cut to Themyscira for a comic book panel-esque world in which we see Lola Bunny carrying out the trials that will allow her to become an Amazonian. This scene feels like it's ripped right out of the opening of Wonder Woman 1984, and it involves Lola using the lasso of truth to save her friends. Rosario Dawson is the voice behind Wonder Woman and not Gal Gadot. However, Dawson has voiced her in several cartoons and animated movies over the years. In space, we can see a sign that says Tune World is 432 parsecs away, and a parsec is a measure of distance in astronomy, but in Star Wars, Lucas got it wrong and thought that it was a measure of time. This is why Han boasted about the Millennium Falcon completing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, and again, it's like poetry. They rhyme. Now next, a really bad video. Now next they make their plans, and Bugs dresses up as MC Hammer, which is a joke you'll get if you're as old as I am. The characters wear their classic Toon Squad jerseys, which the group also wore in the original Space Jam film. RG Rhythm says they're alive, which is clearly riffing on Frankenstein, saying it after creating his monster. Next we get the basketball game, which, gonna be completely honest, this is why I feel so dead inside with this video, as it killed me a bit when I was writing this script. There's an absolute ton of Easter eggs here, but we're gonna be going through them all to point out every single crowd member that we could find. Now firstly are Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters, including Captain Caveman, the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine, Jabba Jaw, Penelope Pitstop, and Magilla Gorilla. Outside of these are also the likes of the Iron Giant, King Kong, who jumps in with an airplane that attacked him in his movie, the Great Gonzo from the Flintstones, Muttley who tries to hit him, a Quidditch team, a Yeti from Smallfoot, a Game of Thrones dragon, the Night King, Mr. Freeze, Gremlins, Thundercats, the Agents from the Matrix, the Flying Monkeys from the Wizard of Oz, the Penguin, the 1966 Penguin, the Spartans from 300, the Nuns from The Conjuring, several Jokers including the Jack Nicholson one, and the 1966 version. We can also catch one of the Joker's goons wearing the classic leather jacket that he and his forces had in the 1989 movie with his logo placed on it. Next to the giant we can also see a castle with evil scientists on it, and this is where Gosma was created. There's also Non from Superman 2, as well as Pennywise, and fans of this channel will know that I'm known for doing a video on every time Pennywise was hidden away in the background of a scene. It racked up millions of views and made me a worldwide superstar internationally renowned idiot. And I just want to let you know, I've also went through Space Jam bit by bit, looking for every single Pennywise hidden in the background of a scene. And yeah, there's one there, and there's one there. So yeah, thank you for all your support. Now there's also Morpheus and Baby Jane from What Happened to Baby Jane, which bit of an obscure reference for a kids movie. On top of this, there's The Mask and the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange, which were weirdly allowed to be in this movie, whilst Pepe Le Pew wasn't. There's also Dorothy and the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz, as well as Voldemort, 2 Catwomen, some Monty Python characters, Trinity, Will Smith from Wild Wild West, Space Ghost, and the War Boys from Mad Max. In addition to this, we can catch Batman and Robin, and yeah, thank God we made it through that scene, as it ended me a bit inside. There's also the Nerd Looks from the Space Jam movie, and we almost get Michael Jordan, but it's Michael B. Jordan. Deep down, I actually really respect him for getting paid for having a similar name to Michael Jordan, and just shout out to this guy for making money off this. You've got to hand it to him. Now LeBron also drinks water in the locker room, which could be a nod to the first film, in which Michael motivated the Looney Tunes with his secret formula that was actually just water. He also writes the names of his family members on his shoe, which is a pre-game ritual that the athlete does in real life. Now though I'm not 100% on this, amongst the crowd I think there might be a troll from Lord of the Rings, and what could be a mime from the Batman 1989 movie. Now the Goon Squad are also playing on their real life player nicknames. These include the Brow, Kronos, Arachnica, White Mamba, and Wetfire. At one point LeBron is knocked out and birds circle his head, which we can see are Tweety Pie. Typically this was used in the cartoons to show when someone was dazed out. At one point we can see a Back to the Bucket license plate, which is using the same font as the Back to the Future logo. The DeLorean even drives in front of it beforehand, and it's a nice little Easter egg. Just don't tell anyone that Warner Bros. Don't own this franchise. You also get Bugs Bunny's Wild World of Sports, which is a reference to the TV special of the same name that he carried out. Cut to Porky Pig doing the best rap battle verse of all time, and we learn his nickname is the Notorious P.I.G., which is of course playing on the Notorious B.I.G., a rapper from the 90s. When they start losing, Algie ends up throwing a chair, which is actually a nod to a real life basketball game, namely when Bobby Knight did it during one in 1985. He also says King Kong ain't got nothing on me, which is a nod to when Denzel said something similar in Training Days, which I won't repeat in its full context because there's probably kids watching. Hilariously, King Kong is there, honey. I actually wanted you to win against Godzilla, bro. You know what I'm saying. Now Bugs Bunny says, "That's all folks," a catchphrase of the Looney Tunes, and he also mentions Taco Tuesdays to LeBron, who has often said this on his Instagram. LeBron even hosted a Taco Tuesday pop-up restaurant, and he tried to copyright the term, though this was denied. Anyway, that's all the Easter eggs I could find in the film, and obviously let me know below if there's any I missed. I'm sure there's also lots of other videos out there like this by now, and I started writing this on the weekend, so just go over to their video, watch it, write what I missed from theirs in the comments, and me and you, we'll just pretend that we found them, Don't tell those other video guys. Now as a thank you for doing this, we're actually running a competition right now and giving away 3 MCU box sets on the 30th of July. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the film. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of all the Easter eggs in Black Widow, which will be linked on screen right now. We've gone over the full film and pointed out everything you missed and how it ties into the comics, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. With that out of the way, thank you for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, this has been exhausting, but I'll see you on the next one. Take care, peace.